Alright, I'm excited for this one. So today, for my 16 millimeter review, I have in the box the 1949 Keystone A-12 movie camera. This baby is mint. In the original box with the owner's manual. Get a good look at that there. Keystone model A-12 16 millimeter camera. 7 speed. I'll show you that in a second. But this camera is pristine. This is probably, even my wife was agreeing with me, this is probably the best camera that I own as far as quality, and just, I mean, this thing doesn't even look old. The only thing that is old about it is the smell. It has kind of like that old, just that old material smell to it. But yeah, I mean, get a look at that box. I actually had the box displayed up there on the shelf. You can see behind me with that little Spartus box up there from the video yesterday. But yeah, it's a pretty solid box. Everything fits together. It's a nice display box. Whenever I get these old cameras in their original boxes, I like to display the boxes with them. I think it just, I don't know, adds character. So yeah, kind of spells it out for you on here. 16 millimeter camera. Keystone Manufacturing Co., Boston, Massachusetts. Get that there. And here she is. Got these folds right here. Here's the manual. There she is. It's the Keystone A-12 from 1949. These are the speeds that it was talking about. You've got your standard 16 frames per second. You've got low, high, intermediate. And then here, which I thought was interesting, is the sound speed. So if you're or sorry, that's slow motion. I can't read backwards through the camera. You got your slow motion right there at 64 frames per second. And right here at 24, you have sound, which is if you're syncing it with sound equipment, it keeps it running at a more appropriate speed for that. And one of my favorite things about this, you got to listen to this camera seriously purrs like a kitten. I mean, it runs so smoothly. Well, as far as old cameras go, listen to this. Smooth running camera. And actually, I thought there was something loose in it until I was reading the manual, and this little ding you hear right here, this little kind of thump, there it is. There it is again. That's an auditory marker. So that means when you hear that kind of, that dull ping in that camera, it means that about 1.5 feet of film have gone through. So it's so that when you're you got it out and you're shooting it like this, you don't have to be always pulling it out and looking at your film counter. You can just kind of hear, okay, that's 1.5, that's 3, that's, you can kind of count to yourself how much film is going through without actually having to look at it. Here's the owner's manual. It says back here on the back, June 1949, and it goes through all your stuff right here. You got all kinds of good stuff in here. You got the old exposure meter, how to use telephoto lenses, just a lot of stuff. What kind of film to use, how to hold the camera. There's a nice, in case you can't figure it out, there's a nice picture in there. So yeah, original box, original manual. I probably paid the most for this camera that I've paid for all my other cameras. I bought it on eBay. After everything was said and done, I think I spent about $99 on this camera. So I think that's the most I have ever spent on a camera, but it's worth it. And I've got film coming, so hopefully here soon I can run some film through it and I'll see what kind of video it takes. But yeah, let's look around it a little bit. So it's really nice for an old Keystone camera. I don't know if you can see this detail or not, but it's got kind of this imitation leather kind of texture to it. Really smooth. It's not peeling up anywhere. It's not cracked. It's got the original leather hand holder right here, which is really nice because these cameras are big and plunky. So that's a real nice thing to have when you're filming. This one has a rotating turret, so you can have it on this lens, or you can rotate it around like this and have it on that lens, just whichever one you want. It's my understanding that this squatter, fatter one right here is more of a wide angle lens, and this one's just your regular shooting lens. And you've got this right here in case maybe you had a telephoto lens on this. You could put that mirror down and it would give you a more accurate view through the viewfinder. The viewfinder's not huge on this one. Kind of what I've found with a lot of the older Keystone cameras. Sorry for all this traffic noise out here. People like to, there's an intersection right out in front of my apartment here, and people like to go really just nuts. They rev up their trucks and whatnot. So, anyway, kind of what I've found with a lot of the older Keystone cameras was the viewfinder was pretty small. I mean, this one's not tiny, but it's pretty small to look through. So yeah, you got your information right there. Tells you the Keystone A-12, got your serial number. The exposure meter on this one is actually right here. And what you would do is rotate the camera to whatever the light condition was based on frames per second. So say it was like hazy sun at 16 frames per second, it would point you to about a 5.6, which is not right. I would never recommend going by the exposure charts on these old cameras because, like I said in, I think it was in the Synclox camera video, the older film had like an ISO of about 10, so they had much slower films back then. And now if you tried to go by these exposure charts, it would bleach out your film. So I would suggest getting a light meter. Anyway, that's not really here nor there. I just like to reiterate that because it honestly took me way longer than it should have to figure that out. I wasted countless feet of footage, and I just kind of lost those moments because, you know, I was going by the exposure charts, and then I'd get my film back and run it through the projector, and it would just be white because it was way too exposed. So yeah, a good light meter is a great investment. I actually might do a video on that here soon. Anyway, let's get right down into it and look at this thing. So, as we've probably all learned from all these videos I've done, and as I say every time, this is typical of the inside of an old camera. You've got your full film spool, your empty film spool, your footage counter, your sprockets here. There's your pullback gate to put the film through. This one just kind of pulls back like my 8mm Keystone. They just kind of had that pullback style gate right there, pressure plate. Which I like. I don't like the ones with the doors you have to close because those tend to, they like to jam a lot, and then you're out in the field taking your home movies, and your film jams up, and you got a problem. So I like these pullback gate styles, and this one has these nice kind of pull-up gates, these sprockets that swing out, which makes it a lot easier to kind of form your loops, which we'll get to in a second. But let's load this thing up. I'll show you how to do it. All right, I got my my makeshift stand right here. Let's make sure it holds. So for our demonstration today, I have this old bleached out film. Remember I was talking about overexposing your film? Well, this is what it looks like. You can just about see right through it. That's some very overexposed 16mm film that I took on the Synclox. before I learned my very valuable lesson about that film used to have some higher ISOs to, or some lower ISOs to it. Anyway, that's how you learn, right? Make mistakes. So this is what we're going to use to demonstrate how to load our film. So what you're going to do is on this camera, the film exits at the bottom of the roll on the right-hand side. We're just going to put that in there. And then I pull that gate kind of out of the way. And then what I do is I take myself kind of a long piece like that, and I tuck it in that film door. Then I close my gate, and you can feel when you close the gate that the sprockets kind of engage right there. So when you lock that gate into place, the film is held against the sprocket. And then you'll notice, like the sync locks, you got to make your loops on this one. So what I do is I pull back that gate right there, and I just kind of, well, I don't know if I can do that in a way that you can see. I just kind of push the film up to make a loop, like that. So you got your film going over your first loop, and then I run it to make sure it works. Yep, it's a good loop. So now we're going to come down here, put our film through our second loop. Just kind of hold it right there where the loop marker is. There we go. Run it again to make sure our loops stay. Beautiful. So now, what we're going to do is we just take our take-up spool, find that little slot right there. We're going to put our film through our slot. Get her all wound up on there. Move our film counter arm over. And then, like always, give her that few second test run here. Looks good to me. Put the cover back on. There you go. She's all loaded up. Then you run your film counter there until it gets to 0 when it says film. And you're ready to go start shooting movies. So there you go. That's my 16mm Keystone A-12 from 1949. I will hopefully, when I get the video all taken with this, I'll upload that on here too so you guys can see that. But yeah, she runs beautifully. It's in just damn near mint condition, and it's probably the nicest camera I have. I can't wait to use it a whole bunch, especially this coming summer. So, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one.